It's the Great Depression. In 1932, American farmers were pouring fresh milk into the dirt out of anger, while just a few hundred miles away, people in cities were literally fainting from hunger. We had the factories, we had the food, but the gears of the economy had completely seized up. Banks were open, but the money inside had vanished into thin air. How did the country reach economic collapse in 36 months? To understand the bust, we must visit the boom.
Part 2. The Roaring Twenties.
The 1920s. The war was over, the jazz was loud, and the economy was vibrating with energy. Henry Ford revolutionized production. We were making things faster than people could buy them. For the first time, Americans had electricity, radios, and toasters. Life was good. But wages weren't keeping up, so we invented consumer credit. We bought today's fun with tomorrow's money. Wealth inequality hit historic highs. The top 1% owned 40% of the country's wealth.
Part 3. The Bubble and the Crash.
But the real action was on Wall Street. It became a national obsession. Everyone wanted in. When your shoe shine boy gives you stock tips, you know you're in a bubble. People bought stocks on margin, putting down 10% and borrowing the rest. It was free money, until it wasn't. October 29th, 1929, Black Tuesday, the day the music stopped. The market didn't just dip, it crashed. $14 billion evaporated in hours. Margin calls went out. If you couldn't pay back the loan, the bank took everything. You were wiped out. People went to bed rich and woke up owing money they would never see in a lifetime.
Part 4. The Banking Crisis.
But a crash isn't a depression. A depression happens when the banks fail. Panic spread. Bank runs began. Everyone rushed to withdraw their cash at the same time.
I'm sorry, there's
but
no
banks
money.
don't keep your money in a vault. They lend it out. The vaults were empty. 9,000 banks collapsed. People lost trust. They started hiding cash under mattresses. This caused deflation. The money supply shrank by 30%. The economy was suffocating.
Part 5. Policy Failures.
The Federal Reserve could have saved them. They could have printed money. Instead, they slept. We were trapped by the gold standard. The government refused to print money it didn't have in gold. Then Congress made it worse with the Smoot-Hawley tariff, taxing imports to protect jobs. It backfired. Global trade collapsed. American exports died overnight.
Part 6. The Dust Bowl.
Then nature joined the fight. In the Midwest, a decade of aggressive farming stripped the land. When the rain stopped, the soil turned to powder. The black blizzards arrived. Dust buried houses. It filled lungs. Dust pneumonia killed thousands of children and elderly. The land was dead. Millions of Okies packed their jalopies and fled west. But California wasn't the promised land. There were too many workers and not enough jobs. The refugees were turned away.
Part 6 continued, and social collapse. Starving amidst plenty. Fruit rotted on the ground because no one could afford to pick it. Back in the cities, unemployment hit 25%. 1 in 4 men had no work. The bread lines stretched for blocks. People lost their homes and built shanty towns called Hoovervilles, a bitter tribute to the president they blamed. They slept under newspapers they called Hoover blankets. Empty pockets were Hoover flags. Despair was everywhere. In 1932, WW1 veterans marched on Washington demanding their service bonuses. They were desperate. The government responded with tear gas and bayonets. They burned the veterans' camps. America was at war with itself.
Part 7. The New Deal. FDR era. Enter Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He promised a new deal. His message? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. His first act? He closed every bank in the country, a bank holiday to stop the panic. He created the FDIC,
If a bank failed, the government would pay you back. Trust returned. The bank runs stopped. Then came the alphabet soup agencies. If the private sector wouldn't hire people, the government would. The CCC hired young men to plant trees and build parks. They sent the money home to their starving families. The WPA built bridges, schools, and airports. We didn't just build infrastructure, we rebuilt human dignity. The TVA built dams to electrify the rural South. For the first time, millions saw electric light. The AAA paid farmers to grow less food to raise prices. Controversial? Yes, but it saved the farms. And Social Security, a promise that when you got too old to work, you wouldn't starve. He empowered unions, set a minimum wage, and banned child labor. The weekend was born. The rich hated him. They called him a traitor to his class because he raised their taxes to pay for it all.
Part 8. The Slow Recovery and Relapse.
Slowly, the economy crawled out of the pit. GDP rose, unemployment fell, hope flickered. But in 1937, FDR cut spending too early, trying to balance the budget. The economy crashed again. The Depression left a scar. A whole generation became obsessed with frugality, fearing it could all happen again. Movies like The Wizard of Oz became an escape. We dreamed of color in a black and white world.
Part 9. WW2. The Real End.
Meanwhile, across the ocean, Germany turned to fascism to solve their depression. The world was darkening. Then came the war. Factories stopped making toasters and started making tanks. World War II was the ultimate stimulus package. The government spent more in 4 years than the previous 100 combined. Unemployment vanished overnight. Everyone worked. Men, women, the elderly. The Depression was dead. America emerged from the war as the world's economic superpower. The middle class exploded.
Part 10. Legacy and Conclusion. We entered the golden age of capitalism. Suburbs, cars, and the American dream. But memory fades. In 2008 and again today, we see the same greed, the same bubbles. Wealth inequality is back to 1929 levels. The debt is higher than ever. The economy isn't math, it's people, it's trust. When trust breaks, the machine stops. We survived the Great Depression by working together, by realizing we are all in the same boat. History is a mirror. If you don't look at it, you won't see the car coming up behind you. Don't be the guy holding the bag when the music stops. Subscribe to Cool Finance Facts. Hit the notification bell to survive the next crash. I'm Cool Finance Facts. Stay liquid.